So, by the title, I'm for sure that you guys already know what I'm gonna be discussing and talking about, and that is the young lady that tragically passed away. They say she did a summoning spell for Papa Legba, and she was murdered by Papa Legba. This is the narrative that's going around. But ultimately, I wasn't even going to talk about it or discuss it or anything of that nature. But I start getting a lot of calls from my family because I have a lot of family that know I rock with Papa Legba, like heavy, like hard. So people are calling me like, oh, you should be scared and you should be worried and so on and so forth, but they don't have an understanding of what's really going on. So with that being said, I felt like I really needed to just talk to whomever sees this and gets this message. But ultimately, anybody that has truly experienced Papa Legba and has been in his presence and has felt his energy and has been around him or have been guided by him know that Papa Legba is a very loving energy. It's a very kind energy. It's a very wise energy. Papa Legba is the gate opener, the messenger, just the road opener, right? He's not what people are trying to portray him as being, and it's actually offending to me personally. To me, it's very offending, and I'm very offended by the narrative that is going around that like he's this wicked demon, and the problem is people are watching so many TV shows, and people are watching these American Horror Stories, and people are watching movies and whatever else narrative that they're getting of him, but they don't have a personal relationship with him, so they can't really give you real facts of him. By no means did this girl be murdered because she tried to summon Papa Legba, period. And that's just that, okay? I don't know, and in fact I do kind of know the issue and what was wrong with this scenario, and I'll get into that eventually. But I just want to say that it's time for people to do their own research and do their own work, and not just believe any narrative that is being thrown around, because it's ridiculous at this point. I heard some guy did some ritual and he asked Papa Legba, was it him? And he said, no, it was Baran Samdi. I truly do not believe it was Baran Samdi either. I don't. And that's just that. I don't believe it was Baran Samdi. I know for a fact it wasn't Papa Legba. I know for a fact it wasn't. Just because I've experienced him. Papa Legba is one of the most lenient deities that there is, where if you mess up during a ritual or something, it's not really going to be that many consequences to you messing up. This I know for a fact. There are other spirits, you mess some stuff up, it's some heavy consequences that's going to come to you. Papa Legba is a very loving, a very fatherly, a very grandfatherly energy, to the point that he's very forgiving in that way. And maybe one day I'll do a video of my own personal experiences with Papa Legba. But for this, I want to keep it kind of short, and I don't want to go into depth too much. But I will say that this young lady, her name was Kat Reston. She was a Wiccan, I believe. She's a Wiccan. And I believe she was messing with voodoo dolls, and she was just jumping from this form of magic to that form of magic to this practice to that practice, trying to get something done. So she decided she wanted to come to Voodoo and she wanted to do rituals in voodoo because she wanted a quicker reaction and she wanted faster results and she wanted to hex folks. One, I'll say she found a lot of spells and things and rituals to do on the social media groups, as far as like Wiccan groups and witch groups, and I'll discuss those too, because those kind of irritate me as well, to an extent, because it is good to be able to have a group of people that you can relate to and that you have things in common with. So to an extent it doesn't, but to an extent it does, because a lot of times these groups have like these OG witches and mambos and bokus and whomever. They have these people in these groups and they give out far too much information for newbies. Okay, that's the first thing. They give out far too much information, and they're it's like you're giving a baby steak when that baby should be on Enfamil. And that's the problem. So you're giving a lot of these new up and comers, and of course these up and comers want to learn, as they should, but to a extent they shouldn't just be given everything on a plate at once. There's steps to everything. It's proper protocol to everything. It's proper divinity to everything. And that's the issue. So this girl is finding out ways how to do rituals, how to do certain spells work, how to do this, how to do that, but she's not getting the proper guidance in this. And with anything, you need to have proper guidance first. First and foremost, you should have a proper team and proper guidance in order to get you on the right path, right? Everybody is not initiated in voodoo through, a ritual, right? Everybody is not initiated into voodoo. Sometimes you're initiated through spirit. You're not initiated through people. And that's okay. That's not for everybody. But to a certain extent, there's still proper protocol that should go on. Like, if you're going to teach people how to do hexing spells, you should at least teach people how to protect themselves first, right? That's very important. So this young lady is running around trying to figure out how to hex people. Now, more than likely, she's going to get some type of trickster spirit, or she's going to get a malice spirit, because she has malice in her heart. And that's just the bottom line. If you're trying to hex someone, you have malice in your heart. So you're going to create and you're going to attract malice spirits to you. You're going to attract wicked things to you because you have wicked intent. Okay? And that's just the bottom line. And then I also hear, oh, well, there's mambos and there's bokus and they do hexings for a living. But these people are trained and properly taught how to protect themselves. And then let's also discuss the fact that it's business. This is how they provide for their families. This is how they feed their family. They don't have malice in their heart for anybody. This is work for them. And they know how to protect themselves properly. And they work with certain, deities and jinns and whomever they're deciding to deal with to do their work for them. So ultimately, when you're talking to newbies that don't know how to protect themselves, first and foremost, that are running like a chicken with their head cut off, trying to do malice shit to other people, and then end up getting something done to themselves because they don't even know the proper protocol of things, what do you expect? What do you expect to happen? What did she, I don't know what she truly expected to happen. And that's why when we're in these groups, we have to really be honest with each other. And we can't just say, oh, it's just love and light when it comes to this magic shit, because it's not. It's not just love and light. It's not just peace, love, and hair grease. It can get real dangerous if you're not doing things properly. And it can get real dangerous if you're doing the wrong thing. And that's just being honest. And so when you're in these groups and you giving out these hexing spells, you need to be honest with these people about what can happen. when they're doing these things. Don't just give them the steak. Give them the potatoes too. Let them know what could possibly happen. Let them know how to protect themselves. Tell them to get the proper guidance, because at the end of the day, if this girl got the proper guidance, she wouldn't have been running around here trying to do no malice shit to nobody. Hey, you need to get your shadow work together first. You need the proper divination first. You need the proper tools in order to do things properly for yourself, so you can be protected and so nobody else is in harm. We don't want to talk about, like, I don't want to say, hey, it's this girl's fault why she's dead. But we don't want to talk about what she was trying to do in the first place. But then we want to blame a divine being, because Papa Legba is a divine being. He's a divine energy. We want to blame him for doing something that, who knows what happened to this girl? Who knows what this girl was dealing with? We can't keep taking the narratives of everybody else and saying, hey, this is what happened because this is the picture that people like to play. Oh, a young teen summoned an ancient god and he killed her. No. This young girl was getting herself involved in a bunch of bullshit that she had no business getting herself involved in the first place, and she had consequences behind it. Every action has a reaction. And she faced hers. And as messed up as it is, and as messed up as it sounds, and I'm sorry that she had to learn that way, because we've all been young and dumb. We've all made mistakes. We've all done things that we probably shouldn't have done. And she suffered a real serious consequence behind it. But ultimately, it's something she put herself in the line of fire with in the first place. She had no business sitting around here making fucking voodoo dolls. She had no business running around here trying to hex people for whatever reason she was trying to do it. It wasn't a good enough reason. Clearly. Then she's talking about, oh, I seen Papa Legba and I was so scared. She put up these stats on Facebook. Oh, I seen Papa Legba and I was so scared. That wasn't Papa Legba, baby. And I don't know who you had coming up to you, but that's not who it was. And I know that for fact. And I wouldn't even waste my time asking them, because I feel like our time together is divine and it's important. And I wouldn't even ask no stupid shit like that. Like, oh, did you decide to kill her because she summoned you? I know damn well he didn't. But you guys can believe whatever you like to believe. And that's okay. We all can have our opinions, and we all can think what we want to think, but ultimately it's a really bad narrative on voodoo, because I personally feel that voodoo is a very high vibrational spiritual thing, spiritual system. It's very high vibrational. And ultimately, when you're working with these Orishas and Luas, ultimately when you're working with them, they're bringing you to your best potential, your best you. They making you better. They're not going to kill you and leave you in a tub. A lot of times, not. A lot of times, they're going to bring you to your higher self and your greatest potential. And that's just that. A lot of times they're here to guide. They're here to teach. They're here to grow you. You're gonna grow from dealing with them. You're probably not gonna transition dealing with them. You could, depending on how you come, because ultimately the way she was coming was completely disrespectful anyway. You have to have respect for this. Like, this is not a game. It's not a joke. It's not something to just be playing with. But everybody thinks, everybody is in a rush to do magic, and that's okay, I guess. You can do what you want to do. It's your life. But ultimately, there is proper protocols to do any and everything. Any and everything has proper protocols, and they should probably teach them. When you're in these groups, the OGs of these groups, they need to be real honest with these girls when they putting up stats about how the stuff they're trying to do and what they're trying to do, because she didn't put in multiple things that she's trying to hex people, and nobody said, hey, you probably shouldn't be doing that. Nobody said, hey, young lady, you probably should do some shadow work, because you clearly fucked up because you're trying to run around here hexing people in the first place. You clearly got some chakra issues. You clearly got some issues. You probably should do some shadow work before you try to do magic. That should have been her first advice that nobody told her. But, you know, I'm not going to sit here and rant and rave all day. I just was personally a little offended by it, because I do have a very close relationship with Papa Legba, personally, myself. And I was very much so offended by the narrative that is going around with this story. And it's ridiculous at this point. And that's it. And I just want to say, I know for a fact that it was not him that killed this girl for summoning him. And I don't know exactly what did happen to her. I don't know if she overdosed. I don't know if she was murdered in the flesh. I don't know if spirit came and murdered her because she had fear in her heart and she was trying to do some malice shit. I don't exactly know what happened. But what I do know is, I know it wasn't Papa Legba. And I know that narrative needs to stop going around. I know it wasn't Baron Samedi. And I know that narrative should probably stop going around. It's ridiculous. The more people wake up and find themselves out and figure themselves out, it's always another narrative of some evil demonic things that has to do with African spirituality. And it's ridiculous. It is really ridiculous. And that's it. That's all. I'm done. Y'all have a good night.